I'm undergoing pretty severe persecution right now, and to make a long story short, first of all, let me say this to the people that I need to say this to, and you know who you are. Or at least I hope you know who you are. For one thing, I'm still praying Kaddish for you every day, and that's not easy. And for those of you who know, and even those of you who don't know, Kaddish is, in traditional Judaism, it's a prayer for the dead, and what the Kaddish prayer was believed to do was to raise souls from Jewish purgatory, and I suppose even the souls of righteous Gentiles who, because they were dead and could not pray for themselves, others were supposed to pray for them so that the merits of others might be reflected onto them and thus rise their souls in to heaven. And by the way, you can see that's why many Jews converted to Catholicism, because the theology is so similar. Basically, what's the difference? One just puts, for lack of a better term, a Jesus spin on it, although, of course, there are really few evangelical Catholics, but that's a whole other discussion. And so going back to what I'm saying, I pray Kaddish for those of you who I need to pray for every day. And if you think it's easy for me to pray Kaddish for you every day, it's not. As far as I'm concerned, whether it's in one area or another area or just your whole soul, as far as I'm concerned, it even says this in the scriptures, if you are not in Jesus, your soul is dead. So spiritually, you are dead. And I'm praying Kaddish for you every day that your soul might arise to Yeshua and that you might come to Him and that you surrender every area of your life to Him, not just the parts that you like, not just the parts that are convenient for you, not just the parts that keep your life however you'd like to keep it. And if you think it's easy for me to pray Kaddish for you, it is not. And I don't want to have to consider you spiritually dead in one or another area or your whole soul, believe me. And people have accused me of slandering them and cursing them and just everything else, and I'm gonna tell you straightly, I try to be very truthful. I try to check what I'm doing. I try to think about what I'm saying before I write it. And so I have unfortunately learned that even encouraging people, even if I'm speaking the truth in my encouragement, I'm not gonna speak encouragement to you anymore if you don't want it. You're gonna be on your own. And that's part of why, even if I'm friends with you or even if I'm acquainted with you or whatever, part of why you're dead to me. And it's really pretty pathetic. And I just don't know what else to say. And you know who you are. I'm not going to mention names because some of you have asked me not to even mention your name. If you're that afraid of what I have to say, even if you're afraid that people could take it out of context, firstly, shame on you for being afraid of those people. And shame on you for being afraid to have something associated with you that was encouragement. And you know what I'm talking about. And it's too bad that I had to remove some of what I wrote just because you were afraid that some wicked people could take it out of context, and you weren't the only ones reading those posts. There were other people who do not know, for example, what's in the Talmud. They don't know what you know, and you're not the only ones reading those posts, and they need to know, too, what exactly I'm asking you not to associate with, what I'm encouraging you not to associate with. Just because I'm asking you to embrace, for lack of a better term, an aspect of our heritage, doesn't mean I'm asking you to embrace everything about it. And it is a shame that you are persecuting me for what I've done. And as I said, I've just learned that I'm not going to encourage you anymore. I'm not going to try to even get you to be how you're supposed to be. If you want to If you want to say screw it to being, part of Israel, part of the Jewish people, even if we converted however many years ago at various times during the loads of anti-Semitism that we were receiving. By the way, this applies to a lot of relatives. And if you want to continue to cover up for Great Grandma Gaddis and for, by extension, everyone else who could perpetuate another Holocaust in one or another way, that's your problem. The records are there. The names of those who were murdered in the Holocaust are there. The records are there. I figured out what happened, and I'm not covering for those people. And on lesser matters, I'm certainly not covering for anybody. I used to cover for people in part because I was afraid, and in part because I had my own stuff going on. Well, you know what? Even if I had to go under the radar a little bit, I'm not covering for anyone. I'm not hiding anything that I don't have to hide. Now, there are certain things that I'm certainly, and people might consider me a hypocrite for this, but there are certainly things that I'm not going to say just because those things are not ready to come out yet. But when they're ready to come out, they will come out, and they'll come out who they need to come out to. And for the most part, I got nothing to hide. Of course, there is stuff I have to hide, like, my social security number and other stuff like that, but what doesn't need to be hidden will eventually come out. And I think you get my point by now, but as I said, I'm gonna be cautious with you from now on, but I'm gonna continue to speak the truth. I'm just gonna know how not to put it in front of you, because you've said, I don't want the truth, I don't want anything hitting a nerve with me, I don't want whatever it is, I just want my own little comfortable life, and, screw you. Well, you know what? You've made your decision, you've made your bed, you're gonna lay in it, and when you need help, I'm not gonna help you. As I said, I'm praying Kaddish for you, and I've done my part, so you're left to your own part, and if you don't like that, that's too bad. Just don't expect me to be there for you when you need me to be there for you.